good? Can you see
Oh,
me?
this is good.
Can you see Daniel?
I hope
Are you
so.
there?
Can you guys see it?
Daniel.
Um,
Hello, Daniel.
I can hear you. I'm just wondering if they can hear us or see us. I have no idea. Whoa, 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 whoa! I see a Jezer is
Ooh.
in the room.
Actually, keep talking. I'm gonna. People are gonna hear a weird echo for a second. But
Okay,
keep talking.
no problem. I see the Jezer's in the room. That's the big person I wanted to see show up and pop up in the room. So thank you, Jezer, for being here. More people need to show up. I
There we
agree
go.
with you. More people need to show up. So I'm hoping people are telling everyone else about it and not holding it to themselves. I mean, we're talking about the Magna Defender right here. So, I mean, it's a big subject. People need to be tuning in. And if you guys haven't gone ahead and shared it out with friends, hurry up, head out there, share it with friends, as many as possible. I'm seeing you guys in here right now, and I got what, like 17 people? Everybody say hello. So we can say hello right back to you. I've got Blackwing, I got Edward Sanchez, Fire Drake, Thomas Franco, The Blur, Donnie Pearson, Jared Hodges. Yes, of course, Mikey Nerd Talk. I'm seeing a few people in here, but not too many talking. So tell me what's up. How are you guys doing?
Larry is thanking me for the package I sent him, and yes, Jezzer, I showed Larry my package.
Yes.
And
Oh God.
Blackwing wants to go to Ollie Williams with the weather.
Hollywood, it's warm.
Dude, it was like I went to the grocery store earlier today, and in my car it was telling me that it was like 98 degrees.
Get the F. See, man, I'm telling you, like I am not a fan of. I don't know. I like the rain, but I don't like to drive in it because no one knows how to
Right.
drive in it. I I am not a huge fan of the heat, but I mean, I'll take the heat more than I'll take snow. So it's like, where do I lie with all of
So
this? I don't know,
here's the
but
thing
I
with
enjoy it.
heat versus cold. If it's hot,
Uh huh.
once you're down to the skin, you're done. Like you can't. There's nothing else you can do. If it's cold, you can always pile more stuff on.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So like it's,
Dude,
but no, I agree. In general, like I would rather deal with bearable heat than bearable cold.
I'll agree with you. I'll definitely
I
agree
you
with
know
you because man, it could get
I
too
grew up
much.
outside of Philly, and the year this is completely off topic, but I don't care. The year that I moved to Florida, before I eventually made my way out
Uh-huh.
here, uh, the Pennsylvania as a state was shut down for about 2 weeks because, like, imagine like what happens here when we get like these flex alerts because of the record breaking heat. Imagine that there for
Yeah,
record breaking cold. That was the year that I left.
yeah,
It
I can
was
see that.
snowing like every other day for about a month. It was getting down to like negative 10 or something like ridiculous like that.
Oh,
So they shut school down for like a week and a half or something. I didn't get out of this was my junior year of high school. I didn't get out of school until the end of June because they had to add so many more days to the end of the year because of how many days we had to be closed down for the cold. And then that was also because that was the year they moved to Florida. Florida is kind of like it is out here with the school year, where it starts earlier in August. So I ended up having like a 3 week summer break. Just so
oh, jeez, man.
that was annoying. But on the other hand, when I moved to Florida, I didn't know anyone, so it was kind of nice going to school right away and being able to start making friends.
Oh, that's not bad. Well, talking about making friends, we're going to talk about the Rangers who happen to make a new friend in these three
Sort
episodes.
of.
We're supposed to
Are
watch
they
three.
by the end of the third episode? Are like would you say that they're actually friends?
Yeah, well, they're associates at the moment, but you know things are going to change. We all know things are going to change.
Oh yeah,
Already,
of
for
course, of
God's
course.
sake.
Well, I mean, I also
So,
I know things that have been spoiled for me because of the research that I've done. Uh,
yep,
so
same, same. I'm not
yeah,
going to
so
discuss
like
it.
I know where everything is going with Magna Defender, and I'm kind of excited to see it.
All right.
But at the same time,
Yeah, I want to see how it does play out.
we kind of saw that teased in this episode a little bit. In the first
Yeah, we
episode, but at the same time, I'm a little annoyed that I know that because I kind of would have liked to see that as a surprise.
understandable. I mean, yeah, I tried to keep away from some things, but doing the research, it was like like everything kept hitting me in the face. Like, no,
For
why
me,
is this happening? It's
the
funny
big the
though.
big thing popped up for me when I was looking up the information for Magna Defender to put up on like in that little trivia card, which I don't put a lot of information up on there. It's mainly like a prompt for us to just kind of talk and discuss the character. But in reading that, like I was like, fuck, it just I was like, all right,
Oh yeah.
well, I saw
Oh
that
yeah.
coming, but
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, oh, wow, okay, this is where it gets interesting. And for me, it's funny because I know a lot of people maybe don't know, but when I first met Jezer, or even heard about Jezer, I did not like Jezer. I was not cool with this guy at all. And it's kind of like Magna Defender is his favorite. I'm
what? Wait,
watching
wait, wait.
Lost Galaxy
Did
right
you?
now, and it was like,
Did you
hey,
not like? Did you
huh?
not like Jezer because he was hitting you with the kneecaps with a baseball bat? Oh, okay,
No,
okay.
no, we're gonna pass on that. That didn't happen. But it was just like, hey, they didn't like Magna Defender, blah blah. I didn't like Jazzer, blah blah. And then after that, everything changed. It was like when I finally got to meet Jazzer and realized, oh, that is Jazzer. Oh, it was
So
completely different.
speaking about
Best of
Jezer,
friends.
in the chat here, he's saying that Magna Defender was voiced by the same actor as Goldar. So that's Kerrigan. For any of you guys that don't know, and
Oh
you
yeah,
can, it's interesting because you can kind of hear it a little bit, but
a
the
little
voice
bit.
is definitely distinct enough that it can stand on its own. And if it was someone else, I would believe that too.
Definitely, he is definitely a man of like multiple voices because it's not something where you hear it, you're like, that's Goldar. No, it was like, yo, this is. He's kind of regal with it, he takes it in that way, and he is, a play on a Arthurian kind of legend in a lot of ways. So it's like it's cool to see him there. He is like well, King Arthur was the timeless king, but he essentially is the timeless knight. And it's like, oh, so these two work off well with each other. But like going right into the episode, we start off with, as we've now dubbed him, Fulio. I don't care what you guys say. Fulio finds out what he thinks are the lights of Orion, right? Hidden away in some huge rock in a cave. Once again, still somehow on Terra
Okay,
Venture, which
yeah,
doesn't
yeah. I'm
make
sorry.
sense to me still.
I'm gonna stop you from talking about the episode for a minute because I got to talk about that
All right.
for a second here. So they're
Okay.
on, like, I know this is a thing that we discuss that we've been discussing since the beginning of Lost Galaxy, but they're
Yes.
on a more or less what's a space station that's a colony floating in space that has just been this place was built, like it is completely and
Yes.
totally man-made.
Yes.
But like even in the second episode, we see the Torazord coming up from under the ground. Like how did
Uh-huh.
it get there?
I, dude, all of these things are things that I am still looking at, and I'm like, they were like, well, we tried to address it, but we don't really care. You're gonna deal with it, like, and I get how, yes, as a fan of any show, you have to
Oh,
suspend
absolutely.
disbelief, and you have to say just because, like, for example, what we always say with Power Rangers,
Yeah.
because Power Rangers, and you're like, yeah, or as we love to say, because
Right,
it's in the
right, right.
script. But there are some things where it's like, okay, you can focus on this portion of exposition, but you're just going to leave this one little part out that would strengthen all that you just did. And they
And
do it
right, and
all the time.
that's something that would take all of like a minute or two to clear up.
Yep.
Like
Yes.
all they would have to say, and this is my head canon for this, just because, is that they found a
Mm-hmm.
plot of land where they were building the colony, and they built it down underground. So the land that you see at the top of the colony is actual like land from Earth that was pushed out when they built it. So almost like not the monsters are due on Maple Street, but let's go with Dark City. So like in Dark City, it was
Mm-hmm.
they ripped a chunk of the planet out, and it's just like floating in space. So I'm going to say that that's what happened with Terra Venture, is that they just built the colony around this plot of land where all of this stuff just happened to be. Because
Yeah. Okay. I mean, you
otherwise
know what?
I don't know.
No, I get it. I get it. I'm gonna listen to Blackwing here when he says "f the logic." Just
Yeah.
you know what? I've got to try to do it. But even though, and Josh said this perfectly last week, and I think even the week before. Look, every once in a while, if you want me to really review a show, I will point out the good and I will point out the bad. But it doesn't mean that I hate the show. It doesn't mean that I am really going to throw, the baby out with the bathwater. I'm going to enjoy it, but I'm going to point out some things that can be annoying. And
Yeah.
this is
Well,
exactly one of those things.
you and Joe were over here hanging out a couple of nights ago, and we were watching.
Uh-huh.
We watched that Space Precinct show from like the early 90s,
Yes,
and then Joe had us watch the first episode of RPM, and then we watched the first episode of what was the other one
oh
that we
my
watched?
gosh. Um,
Lightspeed Rescue. And I mean that first episode of RPM, I really enjoyed it.
I cannot
And yeah,
wait
I'm really
to
excited to
get
get
to
into
that.
that.
Yes, it's going to be years. That it looks like it's going to be my favorite series.
But that got us into talking. Just from there we went into talking about all the different problems they have with Batman versus Superman, and
Batman
how
versus
the logic of the movie just I couldn't get behind the logic of some of the character decisions of the film, and then but from there we kind of went to how I like movies like Howard the Duck. I like Independence Day.
Yeah.
I enjoy.
I like
yeah,
the
you
Matrix.
enjoy the Matrix. I like The Day After Tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Mission to Mars. All of these movies
Oh
that just
yeah,
have like really stupid plot devices in them, but they're
indeed
fun. And the fact that they're fun and
they
that I
are.
enjoy watching them completely overrides any of the problems that I have with it. After I've watched it, I'm absolutely gonna sit here and go, "This was so dumb. This was stupid. How is this a thing and how is that a thing?" But that doesn't change the
Mm-hmm.
fact that I enjoy it, and that's kind of what we've got going on here with the Power Ranger stuff. Is
Right now,
we're kind of nitpicking at a lot of different things, but I think that's like
yeah,
half the fun of watching these things is just
yeah, very true.
like digging into all the weird things that are ridiculous. Like the Power Rangers in this episode, I saw them running like this. I'm like, how does that make any sense?
Anime.
Yeah,
That's all.
it's
That's all. That's the
or
answer. In anime,
yeah,
you
because
run like that.
Naruto does that too, right? Like he runs with his like arms back like this.
Or runs with
Yeah,
his hands, but yeah,
makes
yeah, right,
no
yeah.
sense, but
So I
it's
mean, it
fun.
just depends. Culturally, it makes sense, and aesthetically, it looks great for them when they're doing it. So fine, let it happen. Now, moving on to it, so we get Leo and Fulio fighting until Fulio. Am I right when I say he just
That's what it
self-destructed?
looked like
Like
to me.
he was like, "All right, this is it." Yeah, because he has not been back
Well,
since.
but it looked
He
to me
killed
it came
himself.
across as a if I'm not gonna win, you're not gonna win. I'm just gonna destroy us both.
Yeah, I mean, which makes sense because at this point, if he doesn't win, he can't go back to Scorpio or
Yeah, he's been given what
what
like
did I
seven
call him?
chances now.
Yeah, yeah, the termite tyrant, as I call him. He can't go back to him because if he does, he's going to die. He knew that. He actually escaped from being killed.
Yeah.
Right? Wasn't that the thing? He shot at him. Yeah. So that whole thing is he has nowhere else to go. So now what we are seeing, and this was very interesting in Power Rangers, we see a man with nothing but despair. He's desperate. He has to win. He has to. Everything he is depends or hangs on that. And unfortunately, that hanging Chad counts
Yeah.
for nothing. So it was like, you're going to have to die as well as I am. And that was like, wow, that's something that's really interesting. And we passed by it. But that act of desperation really lets us know kind of like, we are seeing something a little bit
Yeah,
different
well, I
when it
mean,
comes to Power
even
Rangers.
going further, kind of skipping ahead a little bit, when we saw what made the Magna Defender this old curmudgeonly get off my lawn type guy, like
Yo!
when like
Yo!
you see you get the Gene moment where he's like yelling at his kid,
Yes,
and
yes.
so that was that was a little hokey, but the fact that this season of Power Rangers wasn't afraid to go ahead and kill a kid in the show. I
Yes.
like that impressed me because like that's one of the things that again we kind of complain about is that this series not really complain about but that the series doesn't grow up with the audience and that moment, like that's definitely aimed at a more mature like audience.
Yeah, and it's a shock because it is that growth, it is that difference. And I was like, I saw it and I was like, oh, okay, they're gonna clean it up, and then they didn't, and I was like, oh, they'll clean it up in another. Oh no, like they really killed him. And it's like, yeah, out of all the people, you killed a kid.
So
Damn,
so
that's
but
like
here's my question.
tough.
I don't know if Jezer is still in the chat here or watching, but is Magna Defender like is are his people like Mandalorians?
Yeah, dude. That's what it felt like to me. It felt like I don't know if his people are mercenaries or not. We don't get to peer into his planet. We don't even get a name
Right,
of his
because like
planet.
the
So
kid
I mean,
Zika was also wearing that same like costume or uniform or whatever it was. So like
exactly.
now I want to know, is that just the fashion of his people, or was there a reason that they were both wearing the same thing?
I, and I'm wondering, like, all right, maybe they can do another thing where they explain it a little bit further, where it can be. I was just trying to put it together and make my own headcanon, and it's like, okay, yes, that's what his people are, just like Mandalorians. So the thing is, it's like, okay, he was training his son and bringing his son up in the same way, so he puts on the same exact armor. Not everyone on this planet wears that armor, but when you are a defender of some level, you wear it. So his son is training, so he's starting to train and wear his own. Because it did look
Right,
different
right.
from his father's, but very, very indeed similar. But there are particular areas in it where you're like, this seems individualized. So I think that's kind of like where they could go with it. And I'd love to
Yeah,
see
I
that.
don't know. Like
But
you
it's
guys who are reading the comics, has Magna Defender shown up in any of the comics yet? And
I
if
believe
not, would you be interested in a series kind of like we're getting the Draken series now, and we had the Ranger Slayer series? Would you guys be interested in a one-off like 6-issue series just about Magna Defender?
oh, man, you have no idea how much people would love that. They did a little side character thing with freaking Ninjor
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
cop dude, and people were like, some people were like, oh, I hate it, but then every once in a while they see something and they're like, oh, that's pretty cool. He has a whole planet, he has a whole family, so we would love that for the Magna Defender. I mean, he is one of the most, I don't want to say divisive characters in Power Rangers, but as far as Six Rangers go, he is one of the coolest and most chased after Sixth Ranger. And that's something because of all
Right.
that he does. Yes, we know what he's going to do later. We're not talking about it because we're not trying to ruin anything. Because Elle may watch this after because she'll be back
Yeah,
next
yeah.
week.
Elle
So
will be
we
back
don't
with
want
us
to
next
ruin
week.
anything. Yeah, so we don't want to ruin anything. So people make sure that even in the chat, don't oh well, blah blah. No, don't do it at all. Let us just kind of organically get to the particular moments that we all know is coming. But still, nonetheless, he defines this series, and he's not in it for that long. So it's like that says a lot about his character. And you asking that question is one that definitely they're saying here in the chat, like, yeah, you definitely, we would love that. So it's he's an important character, man. No, hands down, just he's an important character. I would love to see them
So
continue on.
like overall, like what are your like high points from not necessarily from each of these episodes, but just from the set of three that we watched? What were like the moments that stood out to you? Like for me, it was Zika like being killed and actually seeing that happen on screen.
I agree. Same thing. Zika being killed, that was just like it stopped me. It kind of gave me a moment of pause, and try to evaluate what I was seeing and what I thought may happen. So that was huge. Another one for me was actually, which I usually never care about, but it was that the Magna Defender had a moment where he was like, all right, I have to win at all costs. We got to see that revenge really drives
Right.
him and establishes what his character really is. That was interesting to me. That was like ridiculously amazing. I loved it. They really built him as far as his character in so many ways. So that was another one. And like I was saying, but I slowly interrupted myself.
That never
Um,
happens.
the Toro Zord. I know. The Toro Zord. um, it was kind of interesting because it's everything the Gold Ranger's pyramid
Right.
was, except that from what I see, he doesn't
Right.
live
Right.
in it.
Right.
But it's two forms of a Zord. It doesn't have to meld with another one to become what it is. So it's like a Megazord all on its own. And then on top of that, it also makes him grow and transforms him. So I was
Yeah,
like, whoa,
so
this is dope.
I've got a little I've got a thing for him. So we'll come back to him a little later because
Uh-huh.
I want to talk about that too because that was also something that I thought was cool. But at the same time, I was like, wait a second. So like there's more questions there about that.
Oh
Uh,
man, those are it for me. But what about for
so for
you?
me,
You
obviously,
have
you know,
moments that were
I already
great.
mentioned the fact that they killed off a kid on on the show. Then there was also the fact this is actually kind of a big one for me. Leo, like in this episode, you could see how Leo is slowly starting to become a leader because up
Yeah,
until now, really, I feel like there hasn't really been a leader of this team. Like the Blue Rangers had, his time. Uh, yeah, Leo is kind of like taken charge at a couple of points. Damon has kind of taken control at a couple of points. So like I feel like up until now, there's never been a decisive leader of the team, even though we know that's the Red Ranger's position is the leader in general.
yeah.
There's been a couple of times where like the White Ranger is led, right, or like the Gold Ranger or something.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
typically it's the Red
yeah.
Ranger, and that's his personality trait is that he's someone that other people follow, and
That's
Leo
right.
has kind of been the guy who's following other people and trying to figure out his role. And now we see him like going up to the Magna Defender and being like, "Bro, you gotta chill. Like, there's innocent people here.
Yeah,
You're gonna harm them. That's not cool. Don't like. I realize you're angry. I understand you're upset, but come down a couple of notches and let us help you so that we can actually accomplish both of our goals because they're both they're both synergistic. Like we both essentially want the same thing."
yes. That's very true. That's very true. And you're right. I didn't think about it that way until you literally said it. We are seeing slowly but surely him hewing out what the hero is or what the leader is out of this chunk of out of the chunk of the team itself. Like if the team is just a giant boulder, and you have to make sure you define some things. You're gonna have to pull and kind of, hew the leader
Well,
out of that rock, and that's exactly
and
what they're
I
doing.
think that I don't think that's a like just coincidentally that's where they are in the script now because if you like looking at these three
Mm-hmm.
episodes, we barely see Archie. Uh, we see Maya
Yeah.
briefly while she's doing the horse thing. That's like really the only time
Mm-hmm.
we see Damon. Um, and Kendricks is there for a little bit when she's trying to figure out how to get into the rock that we think the lights of Orion are in. But overall, these
Right.
three episodes were very focused on Leo and the Magna Defender.
Yeah. That's very true. And I think that's what it should have been. So it was not a missed opportunity. And I got to say thank you for the writers for taking that time because they had to do the types of shadows,
Mm-hmm.
especially this whole thing of them. He keeps saying, like, because I guess, like, I had the question first off for Leo, which was, all right, dude, you saw that the. Oh, sorry.
I get it. I get it. I get it.
This makes for great, yeah. I'm sorry. It makes great TV and radio. I'm sorry, but no. So we get that we get this moment or idea where it's like, oh, hey, my brother could be alive. But we found out almost at the end of that little story arc that it was like, oh no. I just had somebody look like your brother. I don't know if your brother's alive. He fell down a gorge. I think he's
Right.
dead.
Right.
Like he fell down a gorge. I think he's still dead. So all of a sudden it sparked this whole search for his brother. And then he sees a Magna Defender and he's like, it's almost like, okay, you're seeing your brother in everything. Yes, I know what happens. Don't say anything, people. But still, it was just like, for me, watching that moment, not knowing what's going to happen, it was like, oh, geez, come on. I mean, it's hard to tell someone during some level of loss, hey, when do you stop? When do you
Right.
stop crying? Like, but it is a question where it's like, hey, you gotta,
But and
focus on being the
but
hero
also
again, man.
that's that's why they paired up Magna Defender and Leo here, was because both
Of
of their
course.
stories are very similar. Leo lost his brother. Magna Defender lost his kid. The only difference
So,
is
yep.
with Leo, this just happened, like within the past couple of months. With Magna Defender, it happened 3,000 years ago. So
Well, then, but also, what does kind of change him as well. It's the whole Batman kind of thing where Batman and Oliver Queen, or no, Batman and Two Face loses his parents also. Whatever. But so here I am. I'm Batman. I lose my parents, and I say I'm going to fight for justice and blah blah blah, driven by vengeance. Versus, well, yeah, Oliver Queen, same thing, rich, blah, blah, loses parents, and says, I'm going to fight for justice, but I'm not going to let vengeance fuel
right,
me. So here goes Leo, not allowing vengeance to fuel him. Here goes Magna Defender, all about vengeance. Like, I'm full on Punisher. Someone's in the way, they're going to die. Look, I don't care. There's no such thing as an innocent bystander. Everyone must somehow
yeah,
see
he's
some
like,
level of suffering to
for
make
him,
this.
the ends justify the means. So collateral
Yes,
damage doesn't matter, because all that matters to him is getting revenge on Scorpius and Fishface and all those guys.
yeah. So it's kind of like, okay, great. Magna Defender is definitely Zack Snyder's hero.
Yeah,
Like, yes, destroy things. I don't care. We have to get the story across. So it's like, it's interesting to see it. And we know that he's going to change. We see it slowly but surely. But it's like, wow, that was interesting. One thing I do wish was that they had a better explanation for that 3,000 year gap, of
right.
his
Where
whole
has
thing.
Magna
I was
Defender
thinking
been
they
this
could
whole
have,
time?
like, see, my thing was, I was thinking to myself, which, we do find that out later. Yes, I know, people, don't ruin it. But that whole thing with it, I was like thinking to myself that they could have given a better answer to us, or it could have been something where it's like, okay, he sealed himself in the rock as well as the Lights of Orion to protect it and also protect him, giving him time to heal and come back
Right.
at the proper time. So then it was like, oh, okay, here I am now at the proper time when the lights of Orion are endangered. So now I arise, and now he truly is the timeless night. But that doesn't work with later what they give the reason for it. So it's like, okay, I get it. But yeah, it's kind of hard to just sit there and be like, all right, cool,
Right.
3,000 years. And wait a minute, but the bad guys don't
But
age.
this is again
But
going
they're
back to our
different.
conversation the other night. This is kind of the reverse of the thing that I was talking about, because I was talking about how when I'm watching like some sort of sci-fi show, and it's in the near future, and they have technology or something happens that seems like it is way beyond the difference in time from where we are now to where they are then, and it not being
Yes.
like some sort of a different universe, or like if it's based in our reality, and it's like 20 years from now we have the, like, it was like Judge Dredd type mega cities and everything. I'm like, I see how construction goes on the 405 and how long it takes them to build like the Howard Hughes Center in Culver City. There is no way that we're going to have these
Right.
giant mega cities in 15, 20 years. Like, so that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, it can happen if you have an actual construction team that's completely dedicated to it. You have to remember the reason that they even built Terra Nova, Terra Venture. Thomas Franco sent me a whole breakdown of it, where all the fans agreed that it was like the people of. That's why there's so many people from Angel Grove there, because they were like, okay, if you're doing this, we'll volunteer ourselves because we can't stay here with the
Mm,
monsters the whole time. So they
actually,
volunteer
that
themselves to help populate that whole area.
the fact that
So
I
the
didn't
thing
think
is,
about that
uh
there's
huh,
so many people from Angel Grove there. So that actually ties into my
yeah.
head canon that they built the colony, like, and all the mechanics of it down underground on this large plot of land, because maybe this area that they built this colony on is where Rita kept throwing her staff to make the monsters grow out in that like desert area that's obviously outside of Angel Grove somewhere, where all of this stuff just
Uh huh.
coincidentally happened. So that would make sense if like this plot of land was outside of Angel Grove all this stuff was there because that's where Rita landed, and that that's just like the epicenter for the Power Ranger villains. And now that plot of land is now in space. So I wonder now, is Earth kind of more or less safe because that area is now just gone?
You know what? I mean, it does seem like it because nothing is happening to that Earth. Everything's happening right there on Terra Venture. And I noticed, which I didn't really pay attention to, but Terra Venture has the one big metropolis in the middle, right? But it's the city in the middle. And then there are other domes that are like territories for like different kind of geographical things. There's a jungle dome. There's a desert dome.
From the outside here, I'm gonna hide us for a second. Because you can see
kind of fixtures for different things. You have one for here goes one for the desert. Here goes one for the rainforest. Here goes one for just a regular forest. Here goes one for wetlands. Right. Here goes like all these other things, and then you have the city. So then it's literally like LA. Where do you want to go? Okay, go ahead and drive there. But everything is right here in the city. You live downtown, and then you can go everywhere from there. And it's like they really set it up that way. So Terra Venture is huge. I mean, you think about it. It's not just a city. That is literally a
metropolis.
State. It's like Texas. It is. Well, it's beyond that. It's Texas floating in space. It's that huge. So now it's kind of like, okay, putting all that together, I kind of get how they're like, oh, well, if this thing was here for thousands of years, they probably literally just uprooted, like you said, outskirts of Angel Grove with some of Angel Grove with it. And that's why they're, this thing has been here for 1,000 years, this blah, blah. Because you have to wonder, where did they get the dirt? Where did they get the land masses? Where did they get this, that, and the other? They literally scooped it out. And then we were like, all right, let's roll.
That all kind of more or less makes sense.
Yeah, and then they'll be able to later, when they get to wherever they want to get to, they'll be able to terraform the other planet or whatever it may be, because they have all the materials with them that travel through.
Well, then the question becomes, how do they land this thing? It's to me, it kind of seems like they would just have to ferry people from this thing down to the planet.
That's true. But they'll probably, whenever it gets to the planet, it'll probably be 10 years until they really put people on it, because terraforming takes forever. So so they'll be doing that. They'll rush through because it's some sci-fi way, and then boom, they'll put the people on. So I mean, it's like and when you put that together in the headcanon, we're gonna call it the official headcanon, dude, because we are giving answers to things where it's like, well, hey, you know what? I don't care. I see in the wiki, people have made it up and fans have all agreed, oh, this is the answer. And you're like, but that's never told. And they're like, but it's the answer.
Yeah, well, it's like when you're looking up things about Star Wars and you're like, oh, yeah, Jar Jar Binks being the actual Sith Master makes complete sense.
Makes sense. It does. Man, we're not going to go into it. Then all right,
so that's the end of our show. I'm going to hop over to our trivia. Well, not so much trivia, but information.
Yeah.
So here we got obviously because we've been talking about Magna Defender makes his appearance in these episodes. According to the fandom database, the Magna Defender was a lone warrior and the sworn enemy of Scorpius. Prior to the death of his son Zika and the destruction of his home planet, he was once an honorable warrior who fought for justice and peace. After Zika's death and his planet's destruction, he became motivated by his vengeance and disregarded his noble ideals, vowing to stop at nothing to avenge his son and his home. So it sounds kind of like a Mandalorian.
Kind of, yes. It sounds exactly like it. When you said it originally, you definitely hit it on the head. This just feeds into it even more. So it's like, I see where we're getting our types and shadows from. So
obviously,
that's
also
cool.
The Mandalorian, at least the recent TV series, was more of a Western. but in Star Wars in Star
Uh,
Wars canon, a lot of it is based off of samurai like samurai type stuff like
yeah.
Rashomon and Seven
Uh,
Samurai and all
that's right.
Akira
Okay.
Kurosawa type stuff.
How are we not seeing these exact themes within everything that's happening right now? That's why they're all dealing with swords. Yes, it's supposed to be Arthurian, but then first person Magna Defender really fights with a sword is someone who's pretty much like trained in the Bushido blade. So you're seeing Bushido versus this knight, but then they give him this whole Western theme.
Mm-hmm.
His music is clearly like, you just want to see him on a horse.
And
He
yeah, and
does the
that
cliche
happens.
things and says, yeah, like yeah, he does the cliche things, and he says, "I want to, I work alone." I was like, "Oh, come on, guy! Like, you are
But
the Lone Ranger. You are Clint Eastwood."
going along with the samurai analogy, he's a Ronin now.
Yes, that's right. Because it's like, yeah, well, usually you have no master, but yes, in this way, it's once again, it still has to be
Mm-hmm.
loss that brings it together. Which I realized it when I was thinking about the Magna Defender. Everyone on this show has to deal with some level of sacrifice to help them become who they are. What's his name? Leo essentially sacrifices who he is when he
Mm-hmm.
loses his brother to become something more. You'll see it throughout different portions of different characters. Maya, for example, has sacrificed her entire planet. It is still turned to stone.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, at the end of the first episode, which is very interesting, we see the Rangers do something that's never been done before. They lose. We see them lose on the first episode. And it just lets us know this is what you're prepared for throughout this season. Now, I know some people hate the season, but there is a lot of things happening here that are like, fuck, these themes that they're working with and building,
Yeah,
it's
so
great.
like
It's
it's what's
really good.
interesting to me is a lot of the things that I had been complaining about with in space and even some of the previous and even some of the
Mm-hmm.
previous seasons was that again it was the writing and the storytelling and the themes and everything just kind of seemed for lack of a better term, just kind of willy nilly. Like it from one episode to the next, things just kind of jumped around and didn't really have a steady building structure. Like this, we would get like a minute of story development here, a minute of story development there, but nothing was really cohesively okay. This is what it's building to. Even with the Psycho
Right?
Rangers, like like some of like we got their storyline, but it didn't necessarily feel like cohesive. Whereas with this,
Yeah,
I feel
I
like
agree.
especially now with the way that we're watching it and where we're kind of watching in these 1 hour blocks, it feels a lot like I'm able to look at the series as more of a like individual episodes in these 3 episode blocks that we're looking at instead of taking it episode by episode by episode. Like even because even like this Magna Defender
Yeah.
storyline covered or not the Magna Defender, the Lights of Orion storyline, which still isn't done. The last 3 episodes and these
Nope.
3 episodes all kind of covered that same thing, and we could see the growth of Leo from the beginning of that first episode that we watched last week up through the end of this episode that we watched this week. It was there's a definitive change in his character over these 6 episodes, and that's something that I've
Mm,
really been wanting since I've started watching uh, the show. And
that's
like
very true. Very true.
even if
So
like some of the like the storylines are a little cliche or things get a little hokey or jokey, um, the theme like everything behind it, the themes and the storytelling itself is I feel maturing a bit, like starting here.
yeah, I agree. I agree. Now talking about maturing and moving on, what do
All
we
right,
have for our
next
next info
we
card?
have Trecheron. So like I only
Oh
but
boy.
I've only got like 4 or 5 of these cards I put together. I know there's a lot of other there's a lot of other
Uh-huh.
characters like we saw the Johnny Bravo Elvis dude again and like in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same scene that we saw Zika being killed off, and one of the other villains was back in that episode as well, or not in that episode, but in that little flashback clip. So Trecheron was the second general of Scorpius' army, and despite his name, he was a master driven by an honor code, not unlike Villamax or Loyax that come in other seasons later. He wore a white and blue outfit, which you see here, with manta ray like wings as a partial cape behind him, and wielded a samurai sword. So this is building into that samurai Ronin theme, which is interesting to me because this show started out with more like the Arthurian legend type thing, and now it's kind of shifting over to more of a samurai theme. I'm wondering if it's going to go back and forth and how it's going to meld the two of those together.
Well, in some ways, it's weird to say, but it feels like right now what we're really looking at is an Eastern world philosophies versus Western world philosophies.
Yeah.
Even though Arthurian wouldn't be considered Western, but once again, they definitely tie in a Western kind of feel.
It's more like
with him.
Anglo-Saxon versus like East Asian.
Yes. There you go. That's the best way to say it, because, like you said, they have little dibbles and dabbles of literal Western themes, where like he sounds like a cowboy. His theme music is definitely a cowboy theme music. So it's like, we're getting that Anglo-Saxon.
Right. I mean, even Westerns. Like if you look at like old school Westerns are still taking a lot of inspiration from samurai and movies and that kind of stuff. Like the Magnificent Seven is Seven Samurai.
Seven Samurai, yeah. I mean, we know we've had our touch of Rashomon so many different ways. So I mean, I definitely get it. Someone says, Fire Drake Burst says he should have been called Samurai because you see his back. Yeah. It kind of looks like a stingray's kind of thing. It would have worked great. It would have been like, oh no, watch out, it's Samurai.
I like it.
And he's like, you're like, oh, watch out. Thomas Franco, I know it's a side question, but when will we bring back Question Player 2? We're still working out some of the kinks to figure out exactly how we want to bring it back to you guys. So just give us time. We have to make sure that we give you a product that's worth watching or listening to. We don't want to just throw out anything. We're not, some other YouTube networks. So give us some time. We'll do what we can, but trust us as we trust in you guys. Okay? That's all I'm saying for it.
Yeah. So
back
I'm
to
going
this.
to move on to the next one here.
Yeah.
We have the villain, Fishface. Fishface is an underhanded anglerfish themed monster. I've got a little gnat flying around in my room, and
the
I
worst.
Can't get it.
The worst.
Anglerfish themed.
You won't.
Anglerfish themed monster who delights in using hostages to prevent his opponents from attacking him. 3,000 years ago, he made an enemy of the Magna Defender when he took his son Zeke hostage. So, what did you think of this guy?
I only like the fact that he had a backstory as far as being around 3,000 years ago, and he was the guy who held his kid. Besides that, I could have cared less for him. But, I mean, that was his purpose, so I liked him just for that. It could have been any villain. It could have looked any type of way. It was what he did that made him memorable. So, I mean, I look at him like, you were one of the people that killed his kid.
To me, at first I didn't catch the fish aspect of it, because I get it now. Like really taking a closer look, like you can see like the shell type covering on his knees and the fin type thing on his head. But when I first looked at it, I saw I don't know. Are you familiar with the game series, The Secret of Monkey Island or The Curse of Monkey Island or any of that kind of stuff from Lucasfilm?
Yeah.
So to me, he looked like the Ghost Pirate LeChuck from those games.
Dude, for me, he kind of reminded me of like the fish villain from One Punch Man.
But also
One Punch Man had
a little bit of Dr. Robotnik. Just because of the mustache.
Wow! Once you said it, that's Once you said it, yes. The
Yeah,
beard and the mustache, man. And then, yeah, the little hair on the top. He had, at one time, Robotnik
yeah,
had a
yeah,
little mohawk before they got rid of it completely. Damn! That's Robotnik. That's it. Forget it. That's it. I don't. Anglerfish Robotnik. Yeah, it's
yeah. But
completely
yeah,
it.
this dude's powers were
Man,
kind of like whatever. He just
are they sure? We don't. What are they? He has a bag full of
yeah. I
gas.
didn't
I don't. I don't
for a
know what it
fish
is.
based villain. I didn't understand what that was all about.
Yeah,
Were they
I
supposed
was
to be
like,
like whirlpools but in the air?
it's I don't. Yeah, it's kind of confusing, and they didn't have it down, and they were like, well, it's the footage we got, and let's work
Yeah.
with it. Also, speaking of footage that they got, these 3 episodes, the thing that was interesting was the next villain, when he shows up,
Which one
and
was that?
they use the
The cold?
one with the
Yeah. Let's see.
chill,
Is that
yeah,
next?
the chili fish, or
Yeah,
I
chili
think that's
fish.
it.
So I got that
Yeah,
here. So
so
one second,
chili
you can
fish.
continue. I'll read. I'm gonna
Go
read what
ahead.
I've got here, and then
Yes, I
chili
was gonna
fish
say,
was
go ahead.
sent to the colony Terra Venture by Trecheron to freeze the citizens so as to procure the lights of Orion without hindrance. He used a jellyfish type conical to spread his icy stingers across the entire colony, resulting in an extreme drop of temperature. The cold caused Terra Venture's engines and Alpha 6 to shut down. He is jellyfish themed and wields a sword in battle.
Hmm. Now, he was one genuinely intimidating because he appeared in the evening. Like, nighttime, it's dark. He has these things kind of hanging over, so you can't really see his face. And then his plan went off without a hitch. It wasn't a problem. He was like, all right, I'm going to go through. Everything got chilled out. People are dying and knocking out and everything like that. And it was just like, yeah, I've got this. He was very interesting to me because they also use a lot
Yeah.
of Sentai footage. Even civilians that were around. There was only one shot of American civilians when they fell on the floor and they were like, ooh. But everyone else was all Sentai footage. People passing out in their cars, the car stopping, the plane that went down. All these things were like, whoa. They were really like,
See, now
this
you
is the
actually
best
just
way to
brought
do
something
it.
else up that I wanted to talk about. I
Uh,
don't remember seeing any highways here. Like, where were these people driving?
huh. No
I
idea.
don't remember seeing
No
like
idea.
regular streets and like regular like a city type thing here.
Hey, it's so big. We already described Terra
Yeah,
Venture
yeah.
as Texas in space. So there's a lot that we haven't seen, and they were just giving us some of that.
Like
That's the only. Once
here's
again,
what I want to believe.
head can
One of those
head
other
can.
random domes is just a circular
Huh?
just like yeah, just a freeway that goes in circles, just so people can feel like they're back at home again. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna go sit in traffic today. So they just head on down. They just head on down
Yeah.
to the freeway dome.
Oh, dude. I mean, pretty much. It's just like they are in California. And once again, we knew that Angel Grove was California. So they're like, hey, you want to feel like you're on the 405? We have a dome for that.
Yeah,
They're like,
it's just a
oh,
never-ending clover loop.
hey, and and they're like, it's so annoying. Bam, bam, come on. It allows you to get the anger out and beat somebody up and road rage, and it's allowed. It's like the purge,
Right.
but
So
on a freeway.
Joe says if they can have
So they're not
skyscrapers, I'm
here.
sure they can have roads. But yeah,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
just for
That's
me,
what I
it's
said.
just one
Yeah,
of those
we
things
talked
where it's
about it.
funny, like seeing these things for the first time out of context from where they actually are in the city.
Oh man, but that one was interesting because it was like the animals were not
Yeah.
affected by his jellyfish
Right.
spears or whatever, and I was like, why not though? That's what I'm still wondering.
I don't know.
Why weren't they affected? And it's like
Yeah.
it's in the script, but I just did wonder because it was like kind of weird for me to be like, why was this happening? And then also in that episode, I need, and I know it's going to happen, but I need them to build on Trakina. I need it now. I'm at a point where I am
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
frustrated every time I see her. Like, why are
Well,
you
I
even
mean
here?
that could be
No one, you've done
that could
nothing
be
to
a
make me
thing
care.
later because like we saw with what's her name in the in space
Uh huh.
Melody Perkins. What's her name? What was her
Oh yeah,
astronomer?
yeah.
Astronema. So we saw with Astronema, and
yeah,
like there were a couple of episodes that were like really heavily Astronema based. So maybe here, here,
yeah.
here we got a lot of character development for Leo. So maybe 10, 20 episodes down the line, we'll
We'll
get
get
that
it
for
coming
Tropina.
soon. Well, I know we are, because when it comes to the end of the season, there's some points where you're like, dang, but we're not there yet. So until we are there, I'm like, I need a little bit more. Because I get it. Blackwing saying it right there. Like, Daniel, don't worry. You'll get Tropina action. I know. But the problem is, I, as an audience member, shouldn't have to ask when. I shouldn't have to ask when. Once we've gone so far into the show, this should be something that you guys have quickly already addressed and given me something already. Now, this is supposed to be a character that I'm going to care about even later. Why do
Well,
I
I
have to
think
wait so long?
this is
Care
again, this
about?
is something that the way we're watching it, we don't necessarily realize. But when the show was on, it
Mm-hmm.
was on 5 days a week. So what's taking
Yes.
us, like maybe a month to get to, would have been 3 weeks
Mm-hmm.
for when people
For
were watching
fans.
it live.
That's true.
So it's like
That's true.
granted we're watching multiple
Actually,
episodes together, but so
mm-hmm.
actually that brings up an
Actually,
interesting point. Should we be watching five? And I realize we're doing 3 and 5 episodes. It's kind of a lot, but should we be
I
watching
know.
five
I know.
episodes? Like should we be doing like week by
Actually, you're gonna
week?
have to wait on that because this came out around close to '99,
Yeah, yeah.
around that time, and by that time there was a big issue because Saban only had one show on the air before they went ahead and bought Digimon. They had this because Beetleborgs just ended. And they didn't know what else they were going to be running with. And then so with Beetleborgs gone, this was the only show that they had at the moment. And then later they bought Digimon that year,
Right,
and then they
right.
were running two different shows. But it was at a point where Fox Kids, because that's
Joe
when
says
most people were
five
watching it.
is way too many. I
Yes,
agree. It was just
it was a joke.
again just a random
And they
thought that
started
popped into
to.
my head as we were talking about it.
But the thing is also, you'll even notice they started to change the airing and do only Saturday. They stopped doing the 5 days a week and
Right,
only
but
would do it
wasn't
Saturday.
that later on when they moved to the 20 episode or 2022 episode seasons?
I don't know because I was reading it and that's what it said about this
Oh, that
season.
this
That's
season
where they
moved
started to
to only
do
Saturdays. Interesting.
only Saturday. At moments, there were other times where they were running it straight through. And then all of a sudden, they said they stopped, they do a break, and then they came back with one
Huh.
episode every Saturday. You
Interesting.
know, and why was that? And that's when I read the whole thing about
Right.
'99 they were stopping this, so they were holding on. They had, but wow, dude. But I just there are so many things where you ask these
Yeah.
questions and you're wondering how and why. Then other things where you get your answers. One thing that was cool for me, because they make sure they were still sticking with the Arthurian kind of legend, was that the lights of Orion were in
Mhm.
a lake. And I was like, oh my God, Lady of the Lake. Like, that's genius. That's where it was. This big, important weapon was trusted in the lake. And that's where he pulled it out from. And I was like, they really are paying attention. Like, they like their
Yeah.
Titan Shadow.
Yeah.
So that was cool for
That's
me.
the thing. Like I was saying before, despite them needing to find a way to fit everything that they need to fit into 6 minutes of exposition within the episode and into like an overall 20-minute 22-minute episode, i I honestly think so far, between In Space and Lost Galaxy is doing a really good job with the way they're telling the story, because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
moving
Yeah.
along, and I can, like, even though we're 11 episodes in, and I can see the character growth between most of the characters on the show.
That's
All
true.
right, so
That's
I'm gonna
very
bounce
true.
back to the last slide because we kind of jumped over that to get to Chilifish.
Yes.
But here we go with the Torazord. So, because we were talking about this before, so the Torazord can make Magna Defender grow to an enormous size, and at that point he's called the Mega Defender, and it either serves as his seed or merges with him to become the Defender Torazord. Defender Torazord is a Megazord with a powerful slashing attack, armed with both a lance or with a large Defender axe. So here's my question. We've seen the Green Ranger grow. Now we've seen
Oh,
Magna
okay. Yes.
Defender
Tommy did grow.
grow. So why don't the regular
Yes.
Rangers ever grow?
they would need a catalyst. They would need something that actually helps them to transform in that growth. The Green Ranger
Right.
had Rita's magic. That's the only time he ever did it, though. And then now we have the Magna Defender, who has, I guess, all the magic of his freaking planet inside of the Toro Zord. And the Toro Zord bestows it on him so that he can grow. So, I mean, the thing is, we would need to see something give
Right.
power or bestow
Obviously,
magic
I'm
on
just
them.
saying. I wonder why
Well,
that
why
hasn't
not?
been a thing where they've said, okay, this season we're going to make these people, we're going to give them Zords that are like mechs, so the Power Rangers grow so that they can get into these mech suits. Oh, like
True. I
was
mean,
it
it's something
Mask
that,
or Exo Squad or whatever?
uh, well, see, that's the thing. If the thing is, if we literally gave them the ability to grow, it would take away one from the whole idea of what Power Rangers is. We love the ground fist to fist combat and blah blah blah, and then we also like the mech idea, and the mech idea is something that has to
Right.
happen in
But
Sentai.
like I
So,
think
eh,
like
but I get what you're saying. Like, why don't they grow and then become encompassed around this
right,
kind of
because
mech? But it's
there's
like
been seasons
if
where
we
the
do,
Zords haven't merged together into into like a giant Megazord. So that could be the same thing here, where each of them have
sure,
their own Megazord that's them inside of this mech suit. Like
that's true.
again, I'm not
Sure.
saying that this is the thing that I absolutely want. It would just be kind of cool. Yeah, it would be cool
But
to
why
see
not?
that as a different take on the same thing.
I mean, I get it. I get it. It's kind of like, and if they did it, they do it like a Centurion scene where they go and they put their
And there
arms
were
out and
so many
ching,
of the
ching, ching,
shows.
ching, and
So Exo
them
Squad,
go
Mask,
like
the
that.
Centurions.
Oh, oh,
Yeah,
so many, so many. I mean, but once again, all
yeah.
inspired by Sentai because Sentai did it first. So I mean, it's like, yeah, and that's pretty interesting. But I gotta say, out of all like the Zords we have for the season, come on, I am
Oh yeah,
definitely
this
in
thing
for
is
the
great.
Toro
Like
Zord.
him
Toro Zord
him
is
being able to
so much
ride
better
it
than everyone else.
is like it was
Yo,
great.
yeah, like right, that was so dope. He pulled, and it's a chain. It's not like a rope.
Yeah,
It's a literal chain. So it's kind of like, yeah, that's how I do it, and I'm coming through. And you're just like, you cheer for him, like, handle him, man, handle him, like, come through. I just love that part. And I was like, I usually hate freaking Zords. I don't like them. I don't have the hate that Joe has for them. But I do not like Zords that much. But yo, this one, I was like, all right, come through, man. Come through. This is
yeah.
it.
Because
Handle them. And I
it's
was like,
cool.
yeah,
The
it's dope.
Magnet Defender and the Bullzord, they form what I was just talking about. Like they are like the Torazord is the mech suit for Magna Defender. So like I feel like it's cool as a one off, but it would be really dope if we got a season where that was the whole thing. Because the
See,
formula would
that's true.
still work the same way. It would be they're in their regular person everyday clothes. Then something happens and they morph into the Rangers, and then the villain that they're fighting grows. So they call it they call in their Zords. The Zords fight a little bit on their own, and then makes the Rangers grow. They get inside and they do the big end battle, and then they defeat the villain, and that's it. And they move on. Like it's basically the same formula.
Dude, yeah, yeah. Also, I'm gonna say something. I know it doesn't really have to do with the episode, but it has to do with the series in a whole. I just found out. I told you in offline, well, off the air, that I just found out that
Oh yeah.
Reggie Roll married
Yeah.
Amy Miller, and that, oh my God, it's like Damon married Trakina.
Yeah, I
What?
remember.
That is
I
so
remember.
sick.
I want to say it was our first year at Power Morphicon, and they were there,
Yeah.
and I because they were sitting next to each other, and there she changed her last name, so she was Amy Roll, and I was like, oh, are they
Mm-hmm.
married? Who? And they were on the show together. Who were they?
Right, right,
I
yeah.
kind of knew about that. And then when we got to
Yeah, I was just like,
this
wow.
season and those were the guys that popped up, I was like, oh, I know who they are.
Oh man, you should
I
have
mean,
told. Well, I'm gonna drop that info on Elle next week on air. So okay, all you guys that are watching right now, Don't L. If you're watching like this in a replay, stop right now for 1 minute.
It's too
One
late.
minute.
You would have stopped like 5 minutes ago.
Well, but yeah, too late. You've already. Love you, L. She probably won't watch it. I don't know. I'll try to talk to her before, and I'll tell her what time the timestamp. I'll figure it out. But guys, don't tell her. Wait till we drop the news on her right here on air, so you guys can see the reaction in her face, because it will most likely be exactly how my reaction was. I can't. I don't want to try to just pop it and oh my god! I want you guys to see it, because wow, that blew me away. That blew me away. That was like, this is so cool. It's like a layer on top of a layer. I love that stuff with Power Rangers. I do. It is. It's an onion. It's complex. It has layers. Oh God. So where are we now? I mean, I think if we have hit every point,
we pretty much hit every
for this
point.
episode.
The Magnet at the end of this episode 11, Magna Defender went away again. He's still kind of a dick, but you know, we know he'll be coming back. And yeah, I think we've pretty much covered everything from these episodes, right?
Heck yeah, I think we did. We covered everything in these episodes.
Let me see.
I'm just gonna ask. What we got
I got it. I lost my window because I had to reboot before we came on. But later tonight we have the wrestling show, the Illuminati Wrestling Order. That'll be coming up at 8 o'clock this evening. I'm sure whatever they talk about will be interesting to wrestling people. I'm not in that loop, so I'm not really sure what was going on this week. But I do enjoy listening to these guys talk about it. Jay and Nate and Pump, you know, they're all pretty pretty entertaining people just on their own.
Definitely, I love it because it's like, yeah, you know, you head back to the water cooler, you're like, well, actually, Sasha Banks, blah blah blah. And they're like, what? You know about wrestling? You're like, of course I do. And then it's like a dope conversation because you have no idea how many other people are into wrestling.
And then I still have no idea
crazy,
what's going on with like the backstory behind it. Like I just know on the surface things that people are talking to me like I know what I'm talking about. Like previously with Power Rangers. So before we go, I'm gonna ask everyone here in the chat, all 15 of you guys, what are your ratings for these episodes? I see Mikey Perez already kind of putting that in there. He gives episode number 9 a 4, episode 10 a 3, and 11 a 3. Thomas Franco gives it a 4.5 for all 3 episodes. While we're waiting on the rest, Daniel, what do you think about these 3 episodes?
Honestly, these 3 episodes did a lot of things different for me. I mean, they killed a child. My gosh, it was like, oh, that was big for me. So all these things happening, putting all this together, giving him this level of exposition that made him a far more fleshed out character than even the characters we're watching, except for Leo. It was like, wow, this is, except for Maya too. I mean, you see her loss. So for me, really, yeah, these 3 episodes all together.
Nice. So let's going back. Fire Drake Burst did not like these episodes. He gave them a 1. Jared Hodges gives it a 5. Metal Ryan Cluster is turning it up to an 11 and giving it a 5.5. The Blur gives them all a 2. Blackwing gives them a too tired to rank since I was binging the franchise earlier in the year out of 5. Jonathan gives it a 4 across the board. Donnie Pearson gives it a 10 out of 10. Metal Ryan is clarifying that's a 5.5 for all. Joe is giving all 3 of them a 5. Blur is clarifying 2 for each one of them gets a 2 for him. Donnie Pearson is giving the entire season a 10 out of 10, even though we're only 11 episodes in.
Oh, nice. Hey,
Blackwing is still watching Overdrive, or has made it to Overdrive, because that's after this season. I am going to give these 3 episodes. I'm gonna agree with Thomas Franco. I'm giving them a 4.5. I really enjoyed. I'm also including last week's grouping in this because all 6 of these together, I feel formed a if you were to re-edit these into one hour and a half long episode or movie or whatever, this would be a really, really solid episode of the show.
I don't disagree with you. I think it created a narrative. that we're going to be following through as far as the growth of these characters that we pointed out, which are, of course, Leo, Mike
Mm.
also, and then, of course, Magna Defender. So it's like, okay, this is all going to be important. So, yeah, I get you. Building it in that way,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
great way to
I
look
mean,
at it.
even though some of the villains, like Fish Face, were kind of meh. Like I feel like the episodes overall and the story that they were telling was really really solid.
I agree. I agree. I can't disagree with you at all on that one. That one is spot
So
on.
I
So, I
mean
mean,
that's I guess pretty much it for us for these episodes of Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. You guys know what we have coming up later
yeah,
tonight. Later on, next week, again, Saturday, you've got the Ranger wrap up. Joe and I will be back with another episode of the Riker Maneuver, which we may be renaming that. We're toying around with a couple of different names since we're going to be having the Riker Maneuver modern show that's coming up in October for the new season of Discovery when that launches on October 15th.
uh,
Um,
okay.
and yeah, just kind of normal stuff. I know we were talking. Joe and Eric and I were talking yesterday. We're gonna start playing the Star Wars or not Star Wars, Star Trek Adventures role playing game. Um, and I want to get back into Star Trek Online. So that could be fun. So we might hop back on Twitch. I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm back in the office for the week, so my time is kind of up and down again. Just for the week
Oh,
though. So yeah, what about you? What have you got planned for this coming up week?
nothing. Nothing. I'm just going to be reviewing stuff, probably playing some video
Dude,
games,
I just downloaded
and
Injustice 2 because it was free with
uh,
DC not DC Xbox Gold. Yeah.
yeah. My thing is I'm not a fan of the controls. You know what? And it's only because it's like I'm used to
Yeah.
Street
No,
Fighter.
no,
I
I
want to
agree.
use this
Like
kind of shoot arrow
when
button.
I was
You
playing it
know?
the other night, I was playing. I I got to a board where I got the choice between Firestorm and Blue Beetle, and I kept getting my ass kicked with as Firestorm. But then when I moved to Blue Beetle, like I was taking everyone out.
Yeah, see, I'm not crazy about it. Also, I definitely am going to be paying attention to anything that happens on the Illuminati page because
Oh,
DC
I'm so
fandom,
excited for
my
that.
friend, that
Like
is happening on the weekend. So, with that happening, we are going to give you guys a lot of DC news, and it's going to be coming at you guys quick, fast, and in a hurry. Definitely, we'll be breaking a lot of stories that you'll later hear in more depth concerning at DC fandom. So that's why I'm looking forward to that.
yeah,
Like
so
the most.
so the Blur is saying how about online gameplay of Injustice 2? You know what I'll do? I will. I have it on my Xbox, so as long as any one of you guys are on Xbox, I plan on having our Discord up and running this week. So we can hop in
Mm-hmm.
there. I will share my gamer tag, so that you guys can find me on Xbox Live. And if any of you guys want to play versus me in Injustice 2 and probably kick my ass, I'll be down for it. Like
Okay.
and again,
All right.
I'm in my new
That'd be
place
interesting.
here, so I've actually got space now. So Daniel, if you want to come over and play, or Joe, and
Oh
we
yeah,
could have
man.
we could have a marathon. Like whoever here wants to play one of us, we can we can play.
Hey, yeah. Hit us
Yeah.
up. It'll be a great thing to do. I mean, also we hit 1,000 on here, so we already did a giveaway yesterday with Jezzer. Just kind of pay attention, guys, because we'll be doing a few other things because we hit 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube. So kind of pay attention to things that are happening this week.
Yeah. Yeah, so
That's
I
all I
guess
gotta say.
that will do it for us for this Sunday's edition of the Retro Ranger wrap up. Again, check us out later tonight in about an hour and a half for the Illuminati Wrestling Order, and follow us on the website. Follow us in the Illuminati's Inner Circle on Facebook, the Illuminati on Twitch and Instagram. Daniel, I know everyone probably knows your social media already, but go ahead and give it to us one more time.
Battlestar Galactica. It's written out the same way it sounds, which doesn't make any sense. But Battlestar Galactica, that's where you can find me. Guys, come check me out. I'm sometimes bored on Instagram, and I don't want to be. So hit me up.
It's funny. You're an Instagram guy. I'm a Twitter guy. On Twitter and Instagram, you can find me at Vogon Poetry Slam. It's spelled just how it sounds, VOGON Poetry Slam. I'm not really on IG so much, but I'm on Twitter almost every day. I'm almost never on Facebook anymore either because Facebook kind of sucks. But yeah, so we will see you guys in about 90 minutes with the Illuminati Wrestling Order. Bye-bye.
All right, guys.